All right, hi again, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of Around the Town with Chuck. And today my guest is going to be the Conneaut High School Athletic Administrator, Jim Campbell. Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Good, good.
Thank you for taking time to be with me.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate this. Jim, why don't we start by telling everybody out there, let's go as far back as your high school days to how you landed here in the Conneaut Area City School District.
I was born and raised in Ashtabula. Went to Ashtabula High School before the merger of Ashtabula and Harbor. So I graduated from Ashtabula High School in 1992. I'm kind of dating myself there. I went to college at Edinburgh University.
The Fighting Scots.
The Fighting Scots, yes. Graduated from there in 1997 and started working in Ashtabula Area City Schools as a tutor. And then in 2000, I was hired here in Conneaut as a teacher, phys ed teacher. Started at Chestnut, worked with your wife down at Chestnut's where I started. Went out to Gateway, and 2012, I got the call if I'd be interested in being an administrator. And then in 2013, I took over as the athletic administrator for the district.
What a big gain for Conneaut to have Jim Campbell here. As I said, your title is athletic administrator. In the past, it was called athletic director. What are the differences?
Well, most schools have gone to the athletic administrator. It allows, like myself, to cover events. Most schools, as governed by the OHSAA, have to have an administrator at a game to cover the game in case anything would happen. So that kind of, it takes all in one there where I can cover games as well as I can deal with issues or problems that we might have with student athletes, parents, issues, anything like that. Usually the athletic director was, as I'll go back to Bill Fales a while back here, he taught for a couple periods a day, and then he was the athletic director, basically just did scheduling and things like that in the afternoon. And for example, my job, I am currently at Gateway Elementary. I'm the assistant principal there, and I take care of the athletics. So
Funny you should mention Bill Fells, because he's the one that got me started doing this.
Okay.
I keep mentioning Conneaut Area City, Conneaut High School, but do you have any connection with the sports programs at the Conneaut Middle School? As far as scheduling and all that kind of stuff?
Scheduling is done at Gary Case. Mr. Gary Case is he's my assistant athletic. You want to say assistant? Yeah, he's just my athletic out there as assistant. He takes care of all the scheduling for the middle school stuff. We touch base just to make sure if he needs anything, he can always contact me. But he takes care of most of the middle school things.
Jim, in Conneaut, one of the only teams, I think it is the only team in Ashtabula County now not in a conference. So scheduling has to be extremely difficult. I think I counted somewhere like a total of about 16 sports schedules that you got to worry about during the season. We're going to go through all those sports, but how difficult is that scheduling to try to get opponents when you're a non-conference team?
Depends on the sport. Football is the toughest one because there's only so many non-conference weeks. The other sports, there's enough time for other schools to schedule as non-conference. Usually, and that gives us enough dates that we can get a full schedule. It is difficult. Football is probably the most difficult.
Is that because there's only one day you can work with, basically a Friday?
Exactly. We only have every Friday night. And like I said, in most schools being in a conference, they only get 2 or 3 weeks where they can play non-conference schools. So a lot of schools that work with us, they're wonderful. They arrange their bye weeks or their non-conference weeks to help fill up like my schedule. So it does, yeah, it is difficult though.
If you would happen to find an opponent and the only way they would play would be a Saturday night, would you take a bite on it?
Yes, in fact, we have done that with the opponent we play now is Gilmore Academy. We play them on Saturday afternoons because they don't have lights at their facility. So we do play them on a Saturday. When they come to us, we play on our Friday night as normal. But yeah, we do that.
One of those sports I want to talk about that has to be extremely difficult in scheduling is the basketball season, whether it be boys or girls, because now you're dealing with weather issues. Hey, straighten
Yes.
one thing out for me, because I argue this all the time. Let's say you're playing Pymatuning Valley at Garcia Gymnasium, and Andover has their schools closed for the day because of weather. Your schools are open. Is it the home school that can still have that game?
That usually is the home school's choice. Usually, though, the way it works here in Conneaut, our policy is if we're closed for snow, cold weather, the game is canceled. Now, for instance, like you just gave an example, if PV, if they were willing to travel because we had school that day, we would still play since we were open.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the home school does have
Right,
the option.
right, and yeah, and like say if it was the other way around, that would be. And for example, I think we did it last year. A good example would be we were closed because it was just so cold. It wasn't necessarily the road conditions. We did travel to, we were off from school because it was so cold, but we did travel down to Youngstown Christian and we played a game down there just because it was cold. And our superintendent, I went through him first and then we agreed and we went. So.
And I would think if that happened and Andover did not want to travel, that would be fine with Conneaut schools as well.
Correct. We would just cancel and try to make that up.
Make up a day.
Yes.
And making up basketball games. I mean, I think it was a few years ago where there were like about 5 or 6 boys' games canceled, and 2 or 3 of the girls' games canceled. How rough is that? To try to reschedule a day where both teams can play.
It is rough because, and again, this all comes down to us not being in a conference. Some of these schools have to get their conference games in or their league games in before they can make us up. Luckily with basketball, there's enough open dates and the season's long enough to where I've never had a game not played. We've always been able to find a date to make it up, boys and girls. So,
Did you ever do a girls, boys, say Saturday makeup doubleheader? One in the daytime, one in the night?
we do that. The way our schedule works now with us being non-conference, we do actually schedule regular season games where we play the boys in the morning per se and then the girls in the afternoon. So yeah, we do that. Yeah, anything to get those games in.
Yeah, you try to get them all in.
Yes.
Very rarely where you don't, right?
Right. Since I've been doing this, I've never not had a full season completed. So
We're going to be doing, Conneaut Cable Access Channel is going to be doing, I think it's 8 selected boys games and 2 or 3 selected girls games. So we're looking forward
Very
to
good.
Coming to Garcia Gymnasium and doing those home games. Do you have much communication with the other athletic administrators in the county?
yeah, basically it's day to day scheduling. If I have a question, I can give some of those people that maybe have been through those situations a call. Yeah, there are some that are very helpful. One that's very good with me is Mel Nowakowski from PV. I've been working with her since we've gotten our new track on how to run a track event. We never had a track, so it was all new. They've been very helpful, PV has. And we are going to be the site of the all-county track meet this year.
Oh,
So,
beautiful track facility.
yes, since we have the nice new track facility and we're going to be going through it. Yeah.
magnificent
So, yeah,
facility.
it is. It's very nice. So, we've been complimented many times on it. So,
With, again, not being in a conference, how would you say your gate attraction is affected? Especially in football when you got teams an hour and a half, 2 hours away coming in, or like we had to go 2 hours away this year. Rather than, say, playing the Jefferson and Lakeside, a couple of county high schools that we don't play.
it's funny you mention that because I was talking to one of my colleagues here at school the other day about this, wanting to know how the gates were. And I said, well, it depends on who we play. If it's a Grand Valley, a Pymatuning Valley, an Edgewood, Geneva, those gates are very good. Those are my best gates of the year. When we play a John Hay or someone from Cleveland, someone that we don't normally play, the gates aren't nearly as good.
And
So
of course, our Geneva game, that had to be a rainy night.
it was, and that affected the gate too a little
Sure
bit.
did,
Yeah.
yes. Basketball again. Let's go to basketball. Stage crew.
Yes.
That's always been an issue in Conneaut. Back in the day, the stage crew was. Some people would say it was worth 8 to 10 points to the home team. Now, it's been
Okay.
tamed down a bit, and in a couple of years, I don't think there's ever been anybody on the stage. What's the how's that turning out? Are we gonna have a stage crew, are we not? What are we gonna do?
Yeah, there will be a stage crew. In the years past, we've tried getting the kids involved with just, anything from like t-shirts to get them to wear. I know last year we tried to do theme nights with them. And it all depends on the student body. Like last year we had, would be Brian Duras, a former student of ours, was kind of the president, and he took it upon himself to try to do like themes. They had nights of like toga night or, things like that to try to get more student body interested in going. There are certain guidelines that we have to follow. We can't let the kids just go crazy up there. And it goes kind of along with the OHSAA where, they want to promote the positive sportsmanship. So we have to, go with those guidelines. We can't have negative cheering. We can't have the name calling. We try to get this through to the parents too, as our fans. We want that sportsmanship, that respect put out there by Conneaut. So this year, I know we just had an administrators meeting this morning with the superintendent. He just recently purchased 80 or like 100 of these like foam Spartan hats. We're going to try to have the high school kids get them if they're on a stage crew that they can wear and things like that. Just things to get the kids more interested in get the stage crew back to where, it was. So,
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Now, I understand not just anybody can go up on that stage. You got to have some sort of credentials. Is that correct too?
Yeah, and the kids are screened a little bit, so to say. I don't think there's really any kids that ever really been denied unless they have some type of behavioral issue or something, that has caused them maybe not to be allowed up there. But none of the kids are usually denied. So yeah.
Most basketball games, Jim, start about 6 o'clock with the junior varsity action, but I'm sure you have to be there a lot earlier than that and probably have to stay a lot later when the game is over. Take us through that type of day. When you get there early, what is it you're doing? What are you getting ready? And then afterwards?
Okay. It just depends. My coaches are great. My head coaches are good, Tim Tallback and Tony Passon. And usually things are set up before they leave. For example, just the gym set up, the bleachers need pulled out. Make sure that's all ready to go. I have to make sure for like Mr. Simpson, who does the game time announcements, introducing the kids and stuff, that he has his microphone and it's all set. If the kids have music, that music has to be screened. That has to be set up and ready to go before the game. So I like to be planned ahead and have that all ready to go. I make sure that just some checking on my part, check to make sure I have my officials before the game. I always do that. I tend to do that like days ahead of time, just to make sure I have officials. I usually arrive at the high school if it's a 6 o'clock JV start, somewhere around 4:30, latest 5 o'clock. Make sure locker rooms are ready for the opposing teams when they show up.
That was going to be a question.
Yeah.
Do you have to welcome the visiting team?
Yes.
Show them the surroundings?
Yeah. When they come in, usually greet them, take them to their locker room, make sure they have everything they need.
And say, not so good luck.
Right. And get everybody prepared and ready to go. And there's different nights where we have different events. There's different planning that I have to do, say for senior nights, getting different things ready. But a normal night is just making sure everything is set up, ready to go. Now with you guys coming aboard, making sure that you have everything you guys need and
so
things
kind
are ready
of
to
a
go.
long day when you're in school all day, and then you're basically going from school right over to the gymnasium.
Yeah, it makes for some long nights. Yeah.
What about stadium for a football game? Kind of the same thing?
Stadium's kind of the same thing. Not so much set up for me. Again, our maintenance guys, I'll give them a shout out here on TV. Dave Schreiber, Matt Kitchen, and Kevin Warren. They always make sure the field is set up. So like when you arrive, Chuck, you see all the yard markers set up. It's painted. It's ready to go. The flag's up. I don't really have anything to do with that. My stuff is I bring you scripts, things like that we might need for the game. Making sure, like Michael Bartone, he's got everything he needs. And for Dave Simpson, a timekeeper, all that. Making sure the locker rooms are ready. across the street for the visiting teams, and then I'm there to greet them, let them know where they're going, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Long, long days.
They're long days, yeah.
But rewarding, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
Ejections. Have you ever, since you've been an athletic administrator, have you ever had to escort somebody out because of conduct reasons?
Usually,
Student or adult?
not that there's one incident I recall, this was a couple years ago, and I'll name the team. It was Brookfield came, it was a basketball game, boys. We had a fan that kind of got,
I remember.
got a little irate, and luckily we have police there for security. They basically escorted them out. I normally don't have to. Usually I point them out and say, this, you know, usually I'll give that person a chance, say, hey, we need to calm it down, and if they don't comply, then they're asked to leave.
I do remember that.
So-
Rita's alma mater,
Yes.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so.
So she couldn't have been doing it.
So.
You mentioned officials.
Mm-hmm.
Do you schedule those game officials?
The way I work right now, Phil Garsha, I know you know Phil. I give him my schedules and he arranges for all my officials. So it's kind of a relationship that I have with Phil. He makes sure that I have my officials, and I just double check with him on everything. So.
Okay, I said you have a lot of sports you deal with.
Yes.
I'm going to see if I can get these in order
Okay.
of the school year as it goes. I'm
Okay.
sure we start with boys and girls golf. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are those schedules like to put together? How many golf matches do they have?
Boys and girls can have up to 18 matches. Our girls golf is in a girls conference league. Basically, our girls golf team is in a league that way.
They are in a league.
Yeah. So they handle a lot of their scheduling is done right through them. A lot of it is tri matches where there's 3 schools playing. That's how that works. Boys golf, a little bit different setup where we're not in a league of any kind. So it is basically, we try to catch on with and do tri matches with some schools. You know, they invite us along. And then we try to get some home matches and where we just play one other school. So it's difficult too for track, for golf. So.
Mm-hmm. And then the track comes after that?
Yes.
Track's in the fall and cross country's in the spring, right?
Tracks in the spring, cross country's in the fall.
In the fall.
Yeah.
Oh, cross country's
In the fall,
Okay,
correct.
So let's go to cross country
Okay.
now. Putting those, is that co-ed?
We have a boys team and we have a girls team.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got 2 sets of schedules there as well.
Basically, for cross country, they run the same meets. They have a boys race and they have a girls race.
Okay.
so that's
they're
how
not
that
playing
works.
on the same date.
Yes, they run, and basically for cross country, it is we go to meets. We go down, clear down to Youngstown. We've been Akron area, so they're usually on weekends, so that the time to travel and stuff like that, because they're an all-day event usually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Then from that, I'm going to say we have football, soccer,
Mm-hmm.
football and soccer for the boys, and then volleyball and soccer for the girls.
yes.
Tough schedules. too.
Volleyball is a tough one, and I'm not sure why it is. It is tough to find 22 matches. The
I was
stated
gonna say,
update.
they play about as many games as basketball.
Yeah, we've went from 18 to 20 now to 22. So, and again, in volleyball, it's that same thing where everybody's in a conference or in a league. So we have to find nights where we can. They're non-conference or league nights. They try to schedule us. So we try to work in. That soccer, not so much. I really don't have problems finding soccer matches, but they have 16. It's not simple. It's not easy. It's a lot of emailing, a lot of calling, a lot of contacting other schools. So
And we now play soccer at Joslin Field.
yes.
Do these teams that I should have asked this to begin with? Do you try to find common opponents for all the sports, or is there some teams that don't have sports, the certain sports?
Basically, in most of our sports, we play the same schools. I try to find the schools that work with us. PV, Grand Valley's very good with working with us in all sports, trying to make sure they try to include us, don't forget us. It's getting tougher, though, because now that we're the only school in Ashtabula County not in a league,
I know.
it is difficult. Because now, like schools that we used to play at least twice, for example, Jefferson, Edgewood, Geneva, we're down to one event in every sport.
I can't imagine
So,
them playing
yeah.
Edgewood twice, a big rivalry like that.
Yeah,
And a
and-
money gate.
Yes, exactly.
And down to
So,
one, and I think the
yep.
boys are playing there this year. We don't even get them here.
Yes. So,
That's the thing.
yeah.
No, that's not correct. The Edgewood boys are playing in Conneaut.
Okay.
Because that is one of our games that we're going to do. I made sure we were going to do that.
Do that, yes. That'll be our best
It's our
best crowd of the year. Yeah.
December
So,
23rd or
yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Okay. Wrestling. What about wrestling? Now, I noticed over the years, we don't have very many wrestling matches at home. They seem to be a lot on the road.
yeah, and the reason for that is we can only accommodate basically one mat in Garcia Gymnasium. But we could squeeze two in there. Very hard to host. It's hard to get enough schools to come interest just to do a regular, one match. So that's why we don't normally have
Like one or two a year.
right. And when we do the one or two,
I always wondered that.
we try to tie in the Cougars, our local youth wrestling. We try to make it a night where we have the youth, the Cougars, and then our middle school wrestles, and then our high school, just to get the community. And we do have very good crowds at our wrestling matches when they come. So, because I think we include the youth, and it helps draw the people.
So do our wrestling kids, do they get like a parents' night?
Yes, it'll be there. They get a senior night just like our basketball teams do. So.
And of course, Matt Bidwell's still the coach.
Yes, he is.
What a super kid he is.
He is. He's a great coach.
Yeah,
so.
he is great.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good coaches.
Yeah.
Kind of interviewing Rocco Dobra the other day.
Yes.
He's just one fantastic gentleman. Let's see. Okay, now we're going into the spring here. We got tennis,
Yes.
girls and boys tennis. Now that's a fall spring thing too.
Girls tennis is in the fall,
Okay.
and then boys tennis is in the spring with baseball and
Now
softball.
why is that? Why do we have fall and spring for a couple of these sports?
I think it is to get the girls so we don't have co-ed, and basically that's how most of the schools work. Try to give the kids a variety in the spring and in the fall. Works out great here because we only have the 3 courts. We use Liberty Street. We're just recently resurfaced and repainted, so that is nice. Our courts were in pretty bad shape there, and then the city got a grant, $25,000 grant to resurface. So that helps us
Outstanding.
when trying to get teams to come here to, play tennis matches. So most schools have 5 courts. We only have 3. When you have 5 courts, you get through the matches a lot quicker. With 3 courts, you can only play 3 matches at once, so it takes a little bit longer. And a lot of schools don't like that. They like for us to come to them to get through that stuff quicker.
Was tennis at one time co-ed here in Conneaut?
It may have been. I'm not positive on that. Since I've been here, we've had girls and boys. So.
Baseball and softball.
Yes.
They play over 20 games each.
Yeah, they're allowed 27.
Weather issues.
Yes, weather is a big one with baseball
Jim,
and softball.
I've always said, looking at the weather around here, football would be better in March, April, May,
Yes.
and put baseball in
In the
September.
fall,
Now,
yeah,
It just
and-
makes sense weather-wise to me.
Yes, and I agree with you there. And our kids are the ones who lose out here the most with the baseball and
make them up?
softball. We don't. And again, and this is the season where school is coming to an end and the state playoffs start. So you have to get your games in. We do get bumped a lot. This is the 2 sports, baseball and softball, where our kids they lose out. I usually have a full schedule of 27 games to start. By the time we're lucky with the weather, makeups, and other schools playing their league games, makeups have to come first so they can do their league championships. We end up maybe with playing 15, 16 games if we're lucky out of that 27 scheduled. Very lucky. I think last year boys baseball played a total of, with tournament, maybe 18 games.
Wow.
If we were lucky. May have been 16, yeah. Very difficult. I'll get phone calls in the spring where, hey, Jim, we need to scratch you for tomorrow because we have to make up a league game. Well, then there's nothing I can do. We're out of a game. Right. So,
who's our coaches for baseball and softball?
Our boys' head baseball coach is Jim Knight.
Jim Knight.
Yes, he's a former Conneaut.
Yes.
Yes.
I think he was his brother Dawson was a catcher.
Yes, and I think Dawson wrestled too.
Jim
So.
may have been a pitcher.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah.
He played at Lake Erie College, and yeah.
Okay.
So, Girls softball, with the resignation of Nick Armini, Rich Shields is going to be the
Okay.
girls
I
coach.
remember
So.
when I think Mary Holtzen had it at one time.
Yes,
too.
she was. Yeah.
Yeah, she had some good teams there. She did a good job
Yes.
with the girls program.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite sport? To throw some general.
My favorite sport is baseball. I
On
played
high school
baseball.
level or
Yes.
on all levels?
On all levels. Coaching my sons. My stepson is actually a sophomore this year. I helped out last year. Just volunteered some time and helped coaching the baseball team here. I enjoy that. I played baseball my whole life, and golf's my other favorite. Played that in high school. So, yeah, those are my two. I love all the sports. So I love going to watch. I love Friday nights, the football games, that atmosphere. Basketball's another great atmosphere. I get to watch a lot of games. Get to see see the kids perform in school, and then I get to see them in a different aspect, out there on the field or the court. It's fun.
Now, in your duties, do you have any roles with the cheerleaders or the marching band or anything?
The band, not so much. No. The girls cheerleaders are classified as our athletes, so they're under my jurisdiction too. They basically have all the rules that apply to our athletes apply to them too. So. Yeah.
What about bus trips for road games? Do you have to make sure that's ready to go?
Yes.
That's part of your job?
Yeah, part of my job there is the coaches fill out their bus requests. They are sent to me for all the away games. I sign them, initial them, okay them, and then I send those to our superintendent who gives the final okay, and then it's a process of where it's sent to the bus garage, and then the games, the trips are given to the bus garage, and then they set up the trips. So
back to these makeup games again, Jim. It's just not, well, we got to find a common day for these two teams to play. Now you got to find, can we get officials for this day?
Yes.
Can we get a bus driver for this day?
Yeah.
Can we get a janitor for this day? And all that kind of stuff, right?
It is. And definitely, it's one of those things. I have my checklist of, okay, games canceled. Did I call? For example, if we have a basketball game canceled, did I call Chuck? Did I call Phil to cancel those officials? Usually just that day when it's canceled, nothing is, done again to reschedule it. Usually the next day we'll touch base, the other athletic director and I, and we'll set up when we're going to try to make it up. But there's a checklist that goes with that to where whoever I cancel, I got to make sure I call all of them, and then if I reschedule, I have to make sure I let everybody know that the game is this date, this time. And we try to do the same times, but a different date. So
Let's spend the last few minutes, Jim, talking about the other part of your job now, your school day. I think you were telling me at the stadium once you started at Gateway,
yes,
then you went to high school?
teaching, I was at Gateway, and then I started at the high school as the assistant principal, and then the following year I became the athletic administrator. And then last year, with district movement, I was sent to the middle school, where I was there till the end of the year, and then with more district movement, the district we try to have, the superintendent was trying to get 2 administrators at every building. So Gateway was the building where I ended up to make that other one, and then our other administrators down at Lakeshore with Mr. Kennedy.
So
So
you've basically been around every age group. The
Yes.
Elementary, the middle school kids, who I have on a Sunday for Sunday school.
Yes.
And then the high school kids.
yes.
Would you say the middle school age children are the most challenging right now? Because they're kind of like in transition?
I wouldn't say they're the most challenging. All of our kids down from Lakeshore to Gateway, on up, have their own sets of challenges. I guess they're just little kids' needs aren't as severe as like the bigger kids' need. The bigger the kid, the bigger the issue. I think becomes a little more severe as they get older. But yeah, I wouldn't say one's more challenging than the other. They all have their own set of challenges. So.
Would you like to be a school principal?
I've had some thoughts about it. Not really sure what I would like to do. I enjoy being the athletic director, administrator. I like handling that stuff. The more I'm in it, the more I see. I could see myself someday. Hopefully, if
You're still very young.
Yeah,
Middle 30s?
No,
Upper 30s?
no, I'm 41.
You're 41?
Yes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wouldn't have thought that. 41.
Yeah.
So what else can you tell me, Jim, about your school day now? I understand the elementary kids are going a little bit later this year.
Yes. Our start times were set back a little bit, which made our end of our day move back some. For example, Gateway, our walkers, kids who are picked up are dismissed at 3:30. With our bussers followed like at 3:35, we start dismissing buses, and we are usually out of there by 3:45 with buses. So with the new time schedule, we've adapted pretty well, accommodated with getting our high school kids. There was a transportation where we had to work to make sure we had buses to pick up our high school and middle school kids to make events, sporting events. But it worked. We made it work for the fall, and that's the busiest. And with basketball and stuff and wrestling, everything's usually later at night, so it's not an issue now. So
I had an outside educator outside of the Conneaut School District saying that, and she teaches in Ashtabula, that research showed that it would be better for the elementary kids to go earlier than the high school kids, but because of sports, those
Yes.
4:30, 5 o'clock games, it just can't be done that way. Do you agree with that research?
I do agree with that. Having my own kids, as you've had your kids, I think my son, he's usually up before I have to go get him up to go to school, and he's in 3rd grade. He's usually up ready to go. Or I know my stepson, who's a sophomore, he'd like to sleep in, and get that little extra rest. But yeah, I would support that research.
Well, Jim, it's been nice chatting with you, and outstanding interview, and I think we're going to look, I know we're going to look forward to doing the basketball games this year. We're all excited about that, and we're going to do, I think, 8
Very good.
boys games out of the 10 that are at home, and 2 or 3 of the girls games.
I look forward to you guys being there. That's nice. It gives our kids some more.
So can you get me those visiting team rosters?
Yes, I'll be able to do that. So yes, I can.
I'll send you what games we're going to do.
Yes.
Just trying to do a basketball game without a roster.
Yes, it's tough. So I look forward to having you there. Gets our kid, their names out there, gets them on TV, and a little publicity that way. So, and Chuck, on my behalf, I would like to, for all that you do, announcing our home football games. If you're ever at a Spartan football game, you hear Chuck doing a play-by-play. He does that. He volunteers his time. He's going to be doing the basketball for us. So on behalf of myself, Chuck, and the athletic department, I would like to present you this Spartans nice carved wood helmet.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I just think it's
For all that you do. And
it's amazing. You can get a good shot at that. It's just, I don't have enough words to say how much I appreciate it. And I love doing the games. And if Dave ever can't make it one night, I'll do even if we're doing the broadcast, I'll
Yes.
still come and do the line.
Very good. I
Remember
appreciate
you had
that.
me do that one night.
Yes.
Dave couldn't be there or something. Dave
So.
does a great job.
Yes,
Dave.
Mr. Simpson's go-to
Very
guy.
thunderous.
Yes.
Okay, Jim,
All
thanks
right.
again.
Thank you, Chuck,
Yes.
for everything.
And that's another edition of Around the Town with Chuck, and we'll be back with another edition next week.